Alright guys, so you have just tuned into a special audio recording for physical education, and the unit we're going to be doing is Unit 13, which has the topic of personal and social behavior. So on the first screen of this unit lesson, the introduction basically says, last semester, you learned about the meaning of character, integrity, and sportsmanship in the world of competitive sports. Those ideas are valuable enough to look at again this week. It's important to remember that success in whatever sport you're playing isn't just about winning or compiling the best personal statistics. There are certain standards of personal conduct that count for more. So that was the first page of this unit lesson, and now we're going to be moving on to the second. Okay, so there are clear-cut rules that regulate the play of every sport, and you must learn them to participate. But, for the most part, there is another set of unwritten rules that governs your personal behavior on the field. Call it sportsmanship, call it fair play, or just call it being a decent individual. In this lesson, you'll take a look at the important issue of character and how it's sometimes hard to decide what's acceptable and what's not, what to emulate and what to avoid, especially in today's non-stop media-saturated world of sports. So what they're basically saying there is, today we're going to find out what's acceptable, what's not, what to follow, and what to avoid in today's world that's heavily influenced by the media. Okay, so page number 3. The heading for this is sportsmanship, and it says, you've undoubtedly witnessed examples of good sportsmanship in your own athletic experiences or on televised events. A player helps an opponent to his feet after a fierce but clean hit. Two teams gather on the field to shake hands at the end of a hard-fought match. The losing coach compliments the winners on their skillful play, or a golfer calls a penalty on herself because her ball moved slightly as she stood over it, something that no one else had even noticed. But sadly, it's just as certain that you've seen or experienced the opposite kind of conduct: cheating, fighting, taking cheap shots, yelling at officials, gloating over an injured rival, and even going into the stands after a heckling spectator. What should you make of all this? Which pattern of behavior should you follow? What are your goals and priorities? So on this page, there's like two hockey team players from like opposite teams, and they're shaking hands. And below that, it says, people in sports should behave properly. So now we're moving on to page 4. It's not as easy as it perhaps should be to answer those questions. All around you, in sports weeklies, in newspapers, and on television, you see professional athletes extolled for their trash-talking skills, football players taunting the other team in staged touchdown celebrations just to make the highlight reels, baseball pitchers doctoring the ball and hitters corking their bats, competitive cyclists using performance-enhancing drugs, or a famous soccer player headbutting an opponent in full view of millions. The list, unfortunately, goes on and on. Just keep in mind that there are many professional athletes who lead exemplary lives, both on and off the field of play. You may not hear as much about them. Good deeds modestly performed and acts of quiet dignity don't make as gripping headlines, sound bites, or video clips as temper tantrums, doping scandals, and bench-clearing brawls. So there is another photo, and it's basically like a sports player person yelling at like his coach or umpire. And it says underneath that picture, sometimes people in sports do not behave with sportsmanship. So now we're moving on to page 5. Choosing role models. The best source for role models isn't in the daily sports section or in a list of ESPY winners. It's right there at home, in your own family, on your team, or in your league. Role models are easy to recognize. The tone of their actions resonate with you and others around them more than the mere volume of their words. Look for those who coach without raising their voices, who gain their peers' respect without demanding it, who lead their teams by example, and who share the credit and the glory with their colleagues without drawing undue attention to themselves. And here's another picture of a coach with 2 little boys, and he's basically like directing them, as you can tell, and he's and it says underneath, for a good role model, find a good coach. So, now we're moving on to page 6 of Unit 13. Okay, so the cost of winning. Society places an emphasis on winning, on coming out ahead in everything from business to politics to GPAs. You can hardly expect sports, the point of which, after all, is competition, to be any different. You don't win silver, you lose gold. So goes an advertising slogan from a famous sports equipment company. The message is clear. Coming in second, even in the Olympic Games, is the same as losing. One of the most oft-quoted axioms in American sports says, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. But how far are you willing to go to win? What price are you willing to pay? Are you prepared to cheat? So yeah, that's basically saying, society kind of makes it where we as Americans kind of feel like we're supposed to win all the time, but that's not necessarily the case. And so there's a photo right here that shows basically 2 gold medals, and underneath that it says, some people think winning is the only thing that matters. And now we're moving on to page 7, just so you know. Okay, so the 1999 Women's World Cup soccer final between the United States and China was decided on penalty kicks. Video replays show that, on one Chinese shot, the U.S. goalie deliberately moved before the ball was kicked. The ball should have been whistled dead, but the referee didn't see the goalie move. She stopped the shot, and the U.S. team won. When asked about the incident later, the goalie replied, "It's only cheating if you get caught." So right here on this page, you can see there's like basically a picture of the goalie doing like the bad thing, and underneath it says, during this game, the goalie deliberately moved before the kick. So yeah, not good. Moving on to page 8 of Unit 13. Okay, so this page says, how are you, as an amateur athlete, supposed to adhere to a lofty standard of sportsmanship when a world-class professional freely admits that she gained victory for her team by beating the system? It isn't easy. You have to convince yourself that your integrity and self-esteem are worth more than the outcome of a match. Chances are you'll never play for stakes as high as a World Cup title or an Olympic medal. When the season is over, you, your teammates, and your opponents will move on to other interests and priorities. Before long, the scores and the statistics will fade from memory. But what will remain is your own awareness of how you acted on the field of play, and whether your behavior was something you can continue to be proud of as you carry on through high school and beyond, or whether it's something you never speak of and would prefer that nobody knew about. So there's another picture on this page, and it's basically like 3 teammates hugging each other, and it says, how you and your team act will stay with you longer than any game. So it's just kind of food for thought. And now we're moving on to page 9. Here's one final story about the relative significance of winning and the bogus idea of losing gold. At the 2000 Olympic Games, a U.S. wrestler's defeat in the semifinals left him out of contention for the gold medal. He was so upset by the loss that he vowed he would not compete in the bronze medal match. America is an all-or-nothing society, he said. Nobody dreams about winning bronze. After some reflection, he changed his mind. You can't go on feelings. You have to do what's right. You owe it to your opponent, to your sport, and to yourself. He won the match, thus becoming, for that moment in time, the 3rd best wrestler in the entire world. It doesn't have the same luster as gold, but that bronze gets a little shinier every day, he later said. And this page's picture basically has like the 3 Olympic medals, silver, gold, and bronze. So, next page. Okay, so the heading for this is coaches and teammates. Coaches and teammates play a large part in shaping your experience with any sport, whether you're happy or miserable, and whether you want to continue the next season and beyond. A good coach can be a teacher, counselor, and a friend. I still keep in touch with my high school coach, NBA great Shaquille O'Neal has said, because he, along with my father, were key in raising me as a man. If your own experience with a particular coach isn't as positive, Don't let it put you off that sport for good. You may have options. Talk to your parents about what you think the problem might be. Maybe they could speak to the coach and set things straight. Or you might be able to change teams or play the same sport in a different league. And remember, there's always next year. So on this little pop-up icon thing, it says, well, it's called John Elway on his high school coach. And when you click on it, it says, the Denver Broncos' great quarterback John Elway took the opportunity of his induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame to give credit to the people who made it possible. I have so many people to thank today. I want to start with my high school coaches, Jack Numiere and Daryl Stroh. Coach Numiere, I know it wasn't easy for you to be here, but I'm sure proud you are. Thanks for seeing me for what I might be, and for showing me how to get there. Coach Stroh, thanks for your leadership and toughness. It really went a long way. Okay, so page number 11. Your teammates' actions and attitudes go a long way towards determining your own outlook. Problems with even one member of the group, hogging the ball, showboating, or bending the rules, can sour the experience for everyone. Just keep in mind that it's up to the coach, not you, to set the standards of behavior for the team. All you can do is provide a good example with your own play. And there's another little pop-up thing down here, and it's called Wise Words About Teamwork. And when you click on it, it says, read what some distinguished Hall of Famers have to say on the subject. Okay. So the first quote is, getting good players is easy, getting them to play together is the hard part. And that's by Casey Stengel, Baseball Hall of Fame coach. The second one says, talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. And that's from Michael Jordan, from that Basketball Hall of Fame. And then the third one says, people who work together will win, whether it be against complex football defenses or the problems of modern society. And that was Vince Lombardi, Hall of Fame football coach. And the fourth and final one says, if a team is to reach its potential, each player must be willing to subordinate his personal goals to the good of his team. And that's from Bud Wilkinson, Hall of Fame football coach. And that brings us to page number 12, in case you were curious. Oh, and it says it's basically the get to it page. So basically, choose an activity from the activity list, do your activity, answer the check-in questions, and then fill in your activity log. And so the next page after that, page 13, is the optional virtual field trip, which you can check out if you want. And the last one is basically signals the end of this audio recording. So thank you for tuning in to this physical education lesson. And my name is Maddie, and hopefully this helped you out. So, yes, thank you.